नदी में कोई गंदा पानी नहीं है।
The composition of the liquid has changed. It doesn't have any properties of water left.
और उसमें यमुना जी का स्नान करने से तो जब लोग जाते ही नहीं हैं।
Cleaning is very important.
भैंस है तो पीवेगा तो ठीक है, पर भैंस है वो खराब है।
Basically, this is the water crime.
The Yamuna River in North India begins high up in the Himalayas and teems with life for hundreds of kilometres. In the Indian capital of Delhi, it undergoes an astonishing transformation.
This is the Wazirabad barrage. This is the Yamuna enter up to this point into the Delhi. On that side, water is clean. Before barrage, water come from the Himalaya region, origin of the Yamuna point.
So it's clean, 400 kilometres, and then
400 kilometers.
and then the next 22 kilometres from here onwards is when it becomes...
Okay. Basically, this is the same water. Okay, before the barrage and after the barrage. Yamuna is basically killed by the human activities. In this water, heavy metals, toxic metals, pesticides, all are present.
Oxygen levels in parts of the river are zero. No animal life can be sustained. But human life on the river continues. Planting crops along the Yamuna was banned by India's Supreme Court. They feared the food supply might be tainted. But the law is barely enforced, and every day, thousands of kilograms of vegetables grown in Yamuna water find their way into Delhi's homes and restaurants. It's hard to see the state of the Yamuna today as anything but a tragedy, but some make the best of it. People like Sikandar have been working off this river for 30 years. He scours this whole section looking for trash, and he earns maybe 5 or 10 rupees for each piece. He says he can make up to 5,000 rupees every month, and that for him, the state of the river right now, it's not such a bad thing.
অন্য কাজ করতে পারবো না, ক্ষেত খামারের কাজ তো চোখ নেই, আঁক নেই। আমি ওই টুপলা যাই, ওতে পয়সা থাকে, ওটা ধরে আনি ছুঁয়ে দেই। আর এই পিতল, তামা, সোনা, দানা যা ভাগ্যে আছে হবে, তারপরে ওই মাল রেখে দেই। ভালো ভালো সবার জন্যই ভালো হবে, এ ভালো হবে না। এই দুনিয়ার কাছড়া, এই যে পলিথিন ফেলবে, এই নদীতে সব ফেলবে, এই সব ফেলবে। এ কিছু একটা ব্যবসা আর কি, এটা ব্যবসা।
Hindus consider the Yamuna to be a goddess. Once a year, tens of thousands of pilgrims gather on its banks in the towns of Mathura and Vrindavan to pray and immerse themselves in the water, believing it brings them good health and prosperity.
आज जमुना जी का जन्मदिन छे, मजा आवे छे। यमुना स्नान और यमुना पान धन्य होते हैं ना जीवन में, इसलिए
हम लोगों की बेसिक माँ ही है। इसके अंदर में कचरा कूड़ा कर ये कंडीशन देख करके हर हिंदू के मन में एक दिल के अंदर में जो है बड़ी जो है उदासी रहती है।
We're outside a sari dyeing factory near Mathura, one of the towns that lines the Yamuna River. It isn't just sewage that's pumped into the river every day, it's also a lot of industrial effluent. In this case, chemicals, a byproduct of the sari dyeing process. As you can see, it's flowing pretty freely into local drains. From here, it'll make its way into the Yamuna and onto people's food and water supplies. Eventually, someone will be drinking this. More than 60 million people rely on the Yamuna for their water supply, including the residents of Patipachkai village near Agra. It's a relatively wealthy community, but a few years ago, people here started getting sick. So this is the filter that the government came to install?
Yes.
But what's the problem with it?
So no, it is not working now. It asked for service in twice in a year, but since last 5 years it is not serviced at all, not for a single time only.
So the water comes out of the ground,
Yeah,
and it's pumped into here, which is supposed to clean it.
stored into that tank, and then it comes to that filter.
But this thing doesn't clean anymore.
No, this is not clean anymore.
And so the water comes out of this tap here.
This is the only outlet for that filtered water. But now, as you know, it is a simple water, only a normal water.
So what happens to people who drink that water?
People are having many problems like pains in their joints, and they are not able to move, not able to walk properly.
And do the villagers know that the water they're drinking?
Yeah, they know, but there is no other option to live. If they have to survive, then they will have to drink this water.
सन 2012 थे तो बिल्कुल कम गयो ही ना आए ना काम हो ना बैठा उठे कछु नहीं तादियों से जाई पे टट्टी करे वो जो कछु करती जे करते टट्टी पेशाब जो कछु करो ते जाने करो अब जे है जाके संग जो सहारे थे जो करेगा डोलिया तो डोलिया का है और जो समझ लो जे मर गई तो फिर हमारा इल्लो खराब हुआ फिर ना है पानी साहब बजाते आवा तो नला फला कोई पी लेता है वो तो हाँ डॉक्टर ने कहे कि जो पानी चेंज कर दे और बस एक लीटर की बोतल आवा देगा भाई पियो इतने का दाम थोड़ा कहाँ दर है तो भाई ला के पियो 1 बीघा खेतो जाई में बिको अब जे है कि दवाई चल रही है तो चल रही है फिर तो फांसी लगावा नहीं पड़ेगा ठेला में टन्नी के नीचे कटना पड़ेगा
Nearby, in the city of Agra, local activist Brij Khandelwal is fighting to rescue the river at its most famous point.
When this building was constructed here, one of the major reasons was the river, which the Mughals thought was a much better river than the one in heaven because of the water quality.
What did it look like back then?
Oh, it was, in fact, Babar himself had written the water of the river. It was as good as nectar. But today, it's so scary. The Uttarakhand High Court has ruled in a judgment that both Ganga and Yamuna, the holiest of Indian rivers, they are living entities. And from the judgment also follows that the river has some basic human rights.
How can the human rights of a river really be enforced?
If it is a living entity, as the Uttarakhand High Court says, then every living entity has basic human rights.
But the number of people killing this river must number in the millions. Everyone who openly defecates on its banks is, in a small way, responsible for its murder.
That is true, but we have agencies which are supposed to regulate antisocial activities.
Politics has so far failed to clean the Yamuna. In Agra, residents are looking elsewhere for help. One evening, they held a prayer ceremony on the riverbank to bless bricks they hope might one day be used in a barrage that would raise water levels in the city.
We took the initiative of inviting everybody who was concerned with the river to the riverbank and initiate action by doing havan and puja of stones which we will place eventually when the foundation is laid by the government. The action has to continue. We will go to the CJM court, and people who are responsible for the death of a river, they have to be punished.